World War II in the Pacific. Theater was not merely a traditional conflict of land and sea. It became a key proving ground for a new dominance in military strategy, aircraft carriers and naval aviation. As global naval powers began to realize this shifting paradigm of naval warfare, the Japanese Empire, through the Imperial Japanese Navy (IJN), successfully designed, built, and strategically utilized a carrier fleet to execute a series of military operations that were initially deadly and effective across the Pacific Ocean. This dominance was not a matter of chance. It was a fusion of strategic vision, intensive pilot training, innovative military doctrine, and tactical boldness spearheaded by its leadership, particularly Admiral Isoroku Yamamoto, the commander-in-chief of the IJN, leading up to the war, building a naval superpower. By 1941, Japan had developed its carrier fleet structure into one of the most formidable in the world. The IJN operated various types of carriers, ranging from fleet carriers, major vessels carrying hundreds of aircraft, to smaller ships serving as support, training or transport vessels numbering in the dozens at their peak. The massive carrier fleet included ships that would become widely known in the early operations of the Pacific War, such as the Akagi, Kaga, Sōryū, Hiryū, Shōkaku, and Zuikaku. When combined with additional support vessels, these 6 major carriers gave the IJN immense air power compared to any other navy at the war's outset. It was not only the quantity, but also the quality of the pilots and aircraft that played a crucial role. Many Japanese naval pilots had been training for years in carrier operations and had undergone combat missions in China since 1937. By the time the Pacific War broke out, they were among the most experienced carrier pilots in the world. Japanese carrier dominance truly stunned the world on December 7, 1941, when a combined IJN carrier task force executed a blitz attack on the United States naval base at Pearl Harbor, Hawaii. Deploying 6 major carriers, the bulk of the IJN's carrier fleet, Japan launched over 350 attack aircraft in 2 waves. They destroyed or crippled a significant portion of the U.S. surface fleet, particularly the battleships, effectively igniting the Pacific War. This attack served as the earliest proof that aircraft carriers, not traditional battleships, had become the dominant instrument in naval combat. The IJN successfully demonstrated its new concept of carrier warfare in naval battles, decided by aircraft launching from carriers rather than by the cannons of massive warships facing off against one another.
Following Pearl Harbor,
air power from Japanese carriers continued to dictate the tempo of military operations in the Pacific. Carrier strikes supported a series of Japanese victories, including the invasions of the Philippines, the Dutch East Indies and Singapore, as well as the devastating raids on Darwin, Australia, which shook the Allies. Ships like the Hiryū saw their air wings successfully dismantle enemy defenses and provide follow-up support for Japanese land and sea operations. In this early phase, Japan appeared to be an unstoppable dominant force. The IJN's preliminary strategy was to expand Japan's defensive perimeter as widely as possible, creating an impenetrable barrier while destroying Allied carrier strength piece by piece before they could become a direct threat again. Japanese carriers became the core of this strategy, operating alongside surface combat groups to support invasions and naval engagements. Japanese air dominance was first tested on a large scale at the Battle of the Coral Sea in May 1942. In this engagement, Japanese carriers faced off directly against United States carriers in the first carrier versus carrier battle in history. It was a conflict where the opposing fleets never sighted one another. The entire battle was decided by aircraft, launching from carriers. The result was a relatively balanced strategic outcome. The Allies successfully halted the Japanese advance on Port Moresby, New Guinea, while Japan lost the light carrier Shōho and sustained damage to the Shōkaku. The Zuikaku depleted its air group, meaning neither of these major ships could participate in the subsequent battle at Midway. While not an absolute dominance like Pearl Harbor, the Japanese carriers still demonstrated high operational capability and tactical flexibility in this new form of naval warfare. However, Japanese carrier dominance reached its peak and its turning point at the Battle of Midway in June 1942. The IJN deployed 4 major carriers, Akagi, Kaga, Sōryū, and Hiryū, in an attempt to destroy the U.S. carrier fleet and force the Allies out of the war. However, U.S. intelligence success in breaking Japanese codes gave the U.S. Navy the opportunity to ambush the Japanese fleet. In a battle lasting nearly 4 days, the Americans succeeded in sinking all 4 of these major carriers, while losing only one of their own, the USS Yorktown. This event destroyed the bulk of the IJN's carrier strength and crippled the Japanese carrier dominance that had previously seemed unrivaled. Although Japan still possessed other carriers, such as Shōkaku and Zuikaku, the loss of 4 capital ships and, crucially, many experienced pilots and crew members was a heavy blow from which they would not quickly recover. While the Allies could replace their losses through vastly superior industrial capacity, Japan struggled to replenish lost personnel and resources. After Midway, Japan attempted to maintain its remaining carrier fleet and even built new carriers like the Unru class, but the scale and quality could not replace their initial losses. Subsequently, at the Battle of the Philippine Sea in 1944, Japan suffered another crushing defeat against a now vastly superior U.S. carrier force, marking the end of Japan's ability to wage large-scale carrier warfare. Despite the decline of Japanese carrier dominance following Midway, the IJN's contribution to the evolution of carrier tactics and strategy cannot be underestimated. It was Japan that initially showed the world that the aircraft carrier was the future of naval warfare, displacing the classic battleship. Their early dominance in the Pacific proved lethal and forced the Allies to adapt quickly, accelerate carrier construction, and overhaul naval air tactics to catch up. The story of Japanese carrier dominance in the Pacific War is a long saga of strategic innovation, exceptional pilot training, and deadly air tactics, factors that initially gave Japan an unprecedented advantage in maritime history. Although that dominance ended with the defeat at Midway and subsequent battles, the role of Japanese aircraft carriers forever changed. How the world views naval warfare, establishing the aircraft carrier as the center of conflict. Dynamics at sea during World War II and beyond.